You choose who's most qualified to lead our city. The same goes for when choosing an information education. You want a university with a leading technology-based curriculum, most qualified to train you in today's work environment. For over 50 years, Coleman University, a nonprofit institution nationally recognized, has been proud to give back to the community as part of its Coleman Cares initiative. Tonight, you're deciding who you can trust our city to, because you need to know who really cares.
They want to be your next mayor. They have different ideas on how to solve San Diego's problems. They will ask questions of each other. These candidates are here because our last mayor is a convicted felon. The first debate in this runoff election starts now on 10 News. A panel of journalists has specific questions because San Diegans want specific answers. I'm Steve Atkinson with Peggy Pico from our 10 News partner KPBS.
The candidates are here for a face-off on the issues. Councilman David Alvarez represents San Diego's 8th District. Councilman Kevin Faulconer represents the 2nd District. On our panel, Matthew T. Hall, the UT San Diego Public Engagement Editor, and he's the Vice President of San Diego Society of Professional Journalists. And LaDonna Harvey is here from our news partners at Kogo Radio. She's a panelist with specific questions. Steve and I will be switching between the panel and moderating.
Our debate rules say if candidates go over their time, the moderator must interrupt them. Prior to this debate, a coin toss determined the order of who goes first. And David Alvarez won that coin toss. He is up first with a 1-minute opening statement. Mr. Alvarez.
Thank you very much. I'm a native San Diegan. This is my home. My dad was a janitor. My mom was a fast food worker. They worked hard so that my brothers, my sister, and I could have the opportunities that they never had. This election, we have a very clear choice. We can choose to go back to the old days when a few downtown insiders use our tax dollars as giveaways to special interests. Or we can choose to move our city forward with bold, progressive leadership that reinvests in our neighborhoods, rebuilds our crumbling infrastructure, and creates good middle-class jobs. In order to gauge what I will do as mayor, just look at what I've done. Over the last 18 years, I've dedicated myself to public service, working to restore funding for parks, libraries, and public safety. I've stood up for all of us, fighting against giveaways to special interests. And I've led on the creation of jobs by strengthening our cross-border economy and supporting our small businesses. This is my vision for our city. This is who I am. I'd be honored to serve as your mayor.
Kevin Faulconer now has 1 minute for his opening statement. Mr. Faulconer.
Thank you. I believe we live in a great city with great promise. When I was elected 8 years ago, those were some of the darkest days of our city's history. And ever since that time that I've been elected, I've worked every day to restore our city's finances and restore credibility, to give us a city government that we can be proud of. That's why I'm running for mayor. I'm going to finish the job. And I'm proud of the record that I've done by working with Democrats and Republicans about let's do what's right and best for the city of San Diego. And I'm going to bring my experience to bear to get real results for real San Diegans. That's what my campaign is all about. And I'm proud of the work I've done with environmentalists when we restored funding for Mission Bay Park, with our service providers to provide homeless services for women, children, and our veterans, with our former mayor Jerry Sanders to save $1 billion in pension that we can reinvest into our neighborhoods. I'm going to be an independent mayor that's going to stand up for San Diegans.
All right, our candidates now have 1 minute to answer each question. The first question is to David Alvarez, and that comes from Matt Hall. Matt.
David, the police department's been in turmoil the past few years with officer misconduct, arrests, lawsuits, and more. What's your #1 safety issue, and would you keep Chief William Lansdowne?
Well, the chief has done a great job. Him and I just got together just last week to talk about the work at the police department. And he's addressing some of those concerns that have been raised that you're referring to. He's doing a great job. He's making sure that we have adopted some policies to do the right thing, to collect the information, to make sure that our police department is doing the right thing. I'm proud of the work that he's done. He's done a great job. He's been helping, making sure that San Diegans are safe. But I'm mostly proud of the budgets that I've supported. When I came in, eliminating a $47 million budget deficit, restoring important vital services to our neighborhoods. Done that every single year. This year alone, a bipartisan budget that we approved to restore more of these neighborhood services. That's what San Diegans want in their next mayor, and that's what I've done over the course of my time. And I'm proud to stand with my colleagues in a bipartisan manner to ensure that we have a budget that aligns with the priorities of San Diegans.
Mr. Faulconer, you now have 30 seconds of rebuttal.
Yeah. Proud of the work that our brave men and women do every single day, and they put their lives on the line. I was proud just this week to receive the endorsement of our Police Officers Association. The reason they endorse me is they know that I'm going to continue the reforms that allows us to be able to have the money to reinvest back into our police department. The only one that's come out with a recruitment and retention plan to make sure that every neighborhood is safe and that when you dial 911, we have the best men and women that are there to help you and respond. I'm proud of that support, and I'm going to continue the reforms to ensure that we have dollars to reinvest into our public safety.
Mr. Alvarez, back to you for 30 seconds before we move on to our next question to respond.
Well, for far too long, the special interests that are supporting Kevin really have damaged our city's credibility and ability to move forward, to ensure that we provide the services. That's why we're losing police officers, because we haven't invested in them. We haven't done it over the course of the last several years, and I will ensure that we actually do it this time, because they are too important to keep our public safe. They are vital to making sure that we have good communities throughout this entire city, and we'll be working very hard to ensure that we keep our officers, we bring in new officers, and we have the best police department in the country.
All right, moving on, Kevin Faulconer now has 1 minute to answer the next question. That comes from LaDonna Harvey. LaDonna.
Kevin, the debate over what to do with Qualcomm Stadium, it seems like it's gone on for about the last century.
Yeah.
At least that's what it feels like for everyone. So bottom line it for us. How much public money is okay to spend on a new Charger stadium, and do you support a new stadium in the near future?
I don't think we need to spend any public money. The Chargers are important. They're important to the San Diego region. They're important to the city of San Diego. And I'm less concerned about where a stadium may or may not be located, but very concerned that any financing plan has to protect us as taxpayers. And as somebody who's spent a lot of time reforming City Hall, making those tough decisions so we have dollars to reinvest back into our neighborhoods, our streets, our parks, our libraries, our rec centers, and public safety. That's going to be my priority. But we have an opportunity to work with the Chargers. And as mayor, I will do that. And I'm confident that by working together, we will be able to find solutions that not only keeps the Chargers in San Diego, but most importantly, protects us as taxpayers so we have the dollars to reinvest back into our neighborhoods.
Mr. Alvarez, 30 seconds back to you now for that answer on the Chargers question.
The Chargers are my team. I'm a native San Diegan. I'm proud of the work and the ethic this year that they showed. Congratulations. And absolutely, they will stay in San Diego. I've led on the City Council a $1 billion project, an underutilized airport down in Otay Mesa. This year alone, the council joined in supporting me in moving that forward. It's privately financed. We didn't need to use any public dollars. I do not support the use of public dollars that are so vitally needed in our neighborhoods.
Mr. Faulconer, back to you for 30 seconds as a response.
Yeah, and this race comes down to ensuring that we're going to have a mayor that's going to be independent, that's going to fight to ensure that we have the dollars necessary to reinvest back into our neighborhoods. And that's going to be my priority as somebody who stood up not only those interests that are supporting David and the labor unions and the union government interests that are spending $3 million to try and get him elected. My priority is going to be for the citizens of San Diego and to make sure we put our focus on neighborhood services.
All right, moving on now. David Alvarez now has 1 minute to answer the next question. That comes from Peggy Pico.
Mr. Alvarez, Donna Fry presented the open government recommendation to change the city charter this morning to the City Council. What are the first 3 documents you would put online, and what does an open government mean to you?
Well, I was proud that Donna and I worked together on that with Californians Aware to create an open government policy for our city. And I appreciate Kevin's support on that and the rest of the committee that voted for that today. I have Donna's support because she understands very clearly that open government is a priority, must be a priority in our city. It hasn't been. We've seen the crisis over the last couple of years. So I supported that and I was proud of that, moving that forward. And the documents that must be made public and easily accessible starts with the budget. That is the most important document. Where our money is going, how we're using taxpayer dollars must be completely transparent. It must be accessible to the public. And it must be able to be utilized in a way that the people always have access to the information. You know, taxpayers don't only have a voice every 4 years when there's an election. Their voice must be heard all the time, and we must make sure that our government is open and available and transparent so that they can voice their concerns all the time.
Mr. Faulconer, 30 seconds.
Openness and transparency is critically important. I was proud to be the first one in this race back in the primary that released a transparency plan. The city's business is the public's business. And one of the things that we have to do a much better job of, and I will insist that we do when I am mayor, is taking this information and putting it online. open data, open government, and in a form that the public can easily access it. And never forget, the information that we're dealing with is the city's business. I have a strong track record of that, and as mayor, I will ensure we even increase that to much greater standards of openness.
Mr. Alvarez, back to you now for 30 seconds of a response.
Well, once again, going back to the question, which is what is important? The documents that are important, every document is important. So the budget will be the first that we lay out, but every document is important. We must always keep the public informed. I'm proud of my accomplishments of always behaving that way. Compare that to Kevin. His whole candidacy is a big backroom deal. That's how they selected him to run for mayor, and that's not how the city should do business. I'll make sure that the people are always involved in making decisions in our city.
All right, a couple of quick questions for each of the candidates. No rebuttals, no responses. The first one is to you, Kevin Faulconer. You have 30 seconds to answer this one. Do you think it's a liability that unions support your opponent, and why or why not? 30 seconds.
The fact of the matter is it is, and that 80% of the funding of support of my opponent, 80% is coming from one source, unions. And when you look at their spending $3 million, the same unions that nearly drove the city to the edge of bankruptcy. The mayor is the chief negotiator of labor contracts. We need a mayor that's going to be independent. I have that experience of standing up and supporting taxpayers. My opponent, unfortunately, has the experience of standing up to the labor unions.
All right, Mr. Alvarez, a question for you. Once again, you have 30 seconds to respond. Do you think it's a liability that big business supports your opponent? Why or why not?
Oh, absolutely. Because these are the same people that have driven our city to the ground. His supporters are the same ones that caused the pension underfunding, actually. They all voted for that. They all supported that. And that's where he comes from. Independents, just look at our records. Kevin will sit and listen and do whatever these special interests tell him to do. The developers, the big corporations, those that have enough money to have lobbyists and have high-paid consultants, not everyday citizens. That's who I'm running to represent as mayor. He's running to represent his lobbyist friends from his lobbyist days.
All right, gentlemen. Okay, the candidates will ask each other questions when we come back here in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
While other newscasts have a slow pace and fewer stories, 10 News delivers twice the news and your first forecast before a single commercial, covering what's new, what's happening now, and preparing you for what's next. Turn to 10 News, San Diego's news source. Tonight, you're watching the debate to help you choose who's most qualified to lead our city. The same goes for when choosing an information education. You want a university with a leading technology-based curriculum, most qualified to train you in today's work environment. For over 50 years, Coleman University, a nonprofit institution nationally recognized, has been proud to give back to the community as part of its Coleman Cares initiative. Tonight, you're deciding who you can trust our city to, because you need to know who really cares.
My mom got a Cox bundle. Now I know where I get my enthusiasm.
Cox high-speed internet is so fast. Download that one finished before I could even say it. Harold, I see a man in our kitchen on our home security cam.
Rita, it's me.
I knew that.
You can watch live TV out here.
What?
Get a Cox bundle with the fastest in-home Wi-Fi starting at $79.99 a month with free pro installation.
Remember, mango yogurt is your favorite, honey. I'll talk to you later. I know, he's such a card.
Switch today. Prices start at $79.99 a month. Add Cox Home Security to your bundle and save up to $350 in equipment. Why wait? Prices start at $79.99 a month with free pro install. Upgrade your bundle and get live TV on your tablet and get HBO included for 2 years. Call today.
We paid for this much new carpet.
But we got all this.
Get 60% off carpet at Empire today. Schedule at EmpireToday.com or call
800-588-2300 Empire. A beautiful car makes a great first impression. That's why at Maaco, for a limited time, we're offering our most popular paint service for half price. So come to Maaco and let us turn the car you drive back into the car you love. Maaco, America's body shop.
Now the candidates will ask each other a question, 30 seconds for the question, 1 minute to answer, then a 30-second rebuttal. It's Kevin Faulconer's turn to go first. Mr. Faulconer.
Thank you. David, let's go back to the issue of financing for campaigns. Labor unions are spending about $3 million to elect you. These same labor unions that drove our city to the verge of bankruptcy, that oppose all of the reforms that I've supported and that you've opposed. 80% of all the funding in support of you, 80% is coming from unions. Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, I'll tell you what actually my support is coming from, and it's thousands of people from throughout the entire city. I am so proud that people from the city who have never been involved in political campaigns have joined my team. And they've done that because they've had enough of the same supporters that support you, Kevin. It's enough of the same special interests, the same lobbyists, the same insiders, time after time, that choose to decide how our tax dollars are used, usually to benefit them, instead of how they get used to fix our roads, to fix our potholes, to put up street lights, all the things that matter to the people who live in the city, to open our libraries, our parks. I'm proud of their support. I stand with them, and I thank them, because without their support, a candidate like me, with my background, coming from very, very little, from very, very humble beginnings, is able to now be able to be the next mayor of our great city of San Diego.
Kevin Faulconer, you have 30 seconds to respond.
And I think we've just hit on a clear difference in this race. We need a mayor who's going to be independent. The fact that labor unions are spending 80% of all funding to support David, I think speaks volumes. The mayor is the chief negotiating officer for the city of San Diego, who sits across the table during contract decisions. We need a mayor who's independent, who will not repeat the financial mistakes of the past. I'm going to have that independence. I've demonstrated it, and I'm never going to forget that who I work for are San Diegans. I'm going to stick up for you to make sure our dollars go where they're supposed to, not unaffordable pensions and labor contracts.
All right, now we have 30 seconds to ask the question again. Mr. Alvarez, 1 minute to answer for you, Mr. Faulconer, and 30 seconds for rebuttal. David Alvarez, please ask your question of Kevin.
Well, and I want to address the previous issue as well. You know, I'm proud of the support of everybody that I've had running for city council. And Kevin and I have supported the same labor deals. Every single agreement that I've helped support has saved taxpayer dollars. So that's the real truth. My question to Kevin is why in 2009, when he cut pay for police officers and firefighters, he gave his employees, Kevin, why did you give your city council employees bonuses, thousands and thousands of dollars of bonuses, when you cut the pay for police officers, firefighters, and the people that are important to serve our city?
Let me address your first point, David, because I think that's important when we talk about reforms. The reforms that I've supported that you haven't. You didn't support pension reform, voters did. You supported a sales tax to send more money to City Hall to try to pay for pensions. I oppose that. You didn't support managed competition, which is the ability of the private sector to come in and has cut government waste and compete for city services. That's the big difference between you and I. And I think one of the other big differences is that I led by example as somebody who backs up supporting pension reform. I don't take a pension. You do. You chose to do that. I'm going to save taxpayers $1 million. You're not.
Mr. Alvarez, your response?
Well, this should be disheartening to everybody. He doesn't acknowledge the fact that he gave his own staff thousands and thousands of dollars in bonuses. When our police officers, our firefighters, our lifeguards, the men and women that serve our children in our libraries and in our parks received a 6% pay cut. That is unconscionable. I cannot believe that he doesn't even accept the fact that he did that. We don't need people in office who do not speak the truth, who do not tell us the truth, and at least own up to the things that they've done.
Kevin Faulconer, your rebuttal.
Yeah, you have to have a mayor that's going to lead by example, and I have. I refused that government pension that David so proudly takes and is going to cost taxpayers over $1 million. And so when it's come time to negotiate our labor contracts, do we want to have a mayor who's independent, who has stood up and made those tough decisions? Or do we want somebody like my opponent, who has has been opposed to every single major reform that this city and voters have worked so hard for? Time and time again, voters have told us they want these reforms to happen, and unfortunately, time and time again, David has said he doesn't believe in them.
Well, now we've got more questions from the panel. 1 minute to answer, 30-second rebuttal, 30-second response. This question goes to David Alvarez from LaDonna Harvey.
We know yesterday there was a $120 million infrastructure surge that was passed unanimously by the City Council. By most accounts, though, our infrastructure is somewhere between $1 and $3 billion in the hole. Or the pothole, if you wanted to call it that. So you become mayor, people are sick and tired of fixing their tires and getting front end alignment. So what two very specific things would you do to make sure that you got the roads fixed, and how do you fund that?
That is a priority, and it should be the priority of any mayor. And it is my priority, and it has been my priority when I came to the City Council. $47 million budget deficit that year. Eliminated that. Our fire stations were closed throughout the city. We were not rebuilding our infrastructure. And it was all because past insiders, the same people who support Kevin, led to some horrible, horrible deals. The pension underfunding, that was them. The giveaway, billions of dollars to the hotel industry. Those tax giveaways where we should be spending those dollars actually investing them in our neighborhoods, because the hotel industry, developers have had so much control at City Hall, they always get it their way. And that's why our tax dollars have not been used in our neighborhoods. It's because of the people who control people like Kevin and his supporters who have not allowed our city to be rebuilt in the way that everyday San Diegans care about. Our infrastructure, our public services, our police department, and our fire department. Those are my priorities. They always have been, and they always will continue to be.
Mr. Faulconer, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you, Peggy. Great difference in this race, unless we have a mayor that is going to continue to make the reforms and stand up to the government employee unions that are supporting David. We are not going to have the dollars that we need to reinvest back into our neighborhoods. Infrastructure, paving our streets, keeping our libraries and rec centers open. You need to have a mayor that's independent of that, a mayor that supported pension reform. And the fact that labor unions are spending 80% of all funds, entire race supporting David Alvarez, they're not standing up for our neighborhoods. They want additional benefits and salaries that this city can't afford.
All right, and David Alvarez, your 30-second response.
Kevin just doesn't understand. The biggest union that takes the most benefits is endorsing him. And now he's claiming that I have all of the support. That's just nonsense. It's not true. I'm proud to always have been an independent voice when I came onto the council. Sometimes standing on my own, standing up for taxpayers. That's been my priority. It always has been. It will continue to be when I'm on city council, when I'm mayor, and it has been when I'm on the city council. I'm proud of all of my achievements. I'll put them up against Kevin anytime.
Kevin Faulconer, your next question comes from Steve Atkinson.
Okay, Kevin, a majority of the city council voted in favor of the Barrio Logan Community Plan and the so-called jobs tax to help pay for that low-income housing. But some business leaders did not agree with the outcome, so they actually paid for petition drives to force the issues on the ballot. As members of council now running for mayor, do you believe this strategy is in the public's best interest or in a way to run around the elected council's decisions on this matter?
We have to stand up for good quality jobs in our city. And as a councilman, I know that, and as mayor, I will insist on that. That plan was flawed, and it put in jeopardy hard-working San Diegans, good quality middle-class jobs, families that have worked in our ship repair industry for generations. It put those jobs in jeopardy. That's why that plan was flawed. That's why I came out vocally at the beginning and why I'm still vocally opposed to that. We need changes in the Barrio Logan Community Plan, just like we do in so many of our other plans. But we have to make sure that we're doing everything we can to protect the good quality jobs we have that our men and women rely on to put food on the table, to put their kids through college, to pay the mortgage. And I'm always going to stand up and protect our working families and plans that make sense. And when they don't make sense, I will stand up and say no.
Your 30-second rebuttal and then your 30-second response.
Once again, a clear difference between Kevin and I. He represents the interests, the lobbyists, the people who give him gifts, lavish gifts like yacht race tickets. Those are the people who oppose the Barrio Logan Community Plan update. Those are the people that in every decision that we make at City Hall, they're there, talking to Kevin, making sure he's still on their side. I stand up for the people. This was a community plan with a community process where the people spoke loud and clear. And they said they wanted this balanced approach to protect the jobs and protect the people who live there. That's why I was proud to stand with my colleagues and Mayor Gloria to ensure that this was approved.
Yeah.
And your response?
That plan showed a demonstrated failure of leadership by David. It's in his council district, and he wasn't able to bring people together. As mayor, I'm going to, and I'm going to do it in a way that makes sense. That says we're going to stand up for the hardworking men and women who rely on those jobs. And I understand that as we're coming out of the recession and getting San Diegans back to work, I will always stand up for our families, always stand up to make sure we're doing the right thing in all of our communities.
And David Alvarez, your next question comes from Matt Hall.
That's a good segue from what both of you just said there to my next question, which is about jobs. You hear about it all the time in every election, especially this one, but let's get beyond the rhetoric. What would you do to streamline bureaucracy, to help new businesses, and what can the mayor really do to create new jobs in San Diego?
First of all, the mayor needs to ensure that we support the jobs that we have, like our maritime industry, like the one that I supported with the Bar Logan plant update. I've created a business advisory group of people from all walks of life, all sorts of businesses. This city, for far too long, has depended on the same lobbyists and consultants. They've created a whole way of doing business for themselves with all of these bureaucracy, all this red tape, all this regulation that they've created, and it's only benefited those who know how to get around and who have the ability to call people in high places to make things happen. That's not the type of city we need. We need a city that's actually going to invest in our neighborhoods, rebuild our infrastructure so we can get people coming back to San Diego, starting up their jobs, make new jobs, making sure that we have businesses that thrive, a middle class, and not just subsidized hotel industry jobs that pay low wages. That's the type of economy that I am putting forward in my jobs plan, in my blueprint for our future of our city.
Kevin Faulconer, your 30-second.
And here's where my 8 years of experience really comes into play. As somebody who's been fighting to get rid of bad policies that do not promote good quality jobs, to cut the city bureaucracy, cut the red tape, to ensure that we're fighting for taxpayers. And that's what I've been known for, and working across the aisle with my colleagues, Democrat and Republican, to get real results for San Diego. I think that's the biggest difference in this. I'm going to be independent, promote our good quality jobs, not be beholden to the city government labor unions who are funding 80% of David's campaign.
And your 30-second response.
Well, it took 8 years for Kevin to figure that out. It's astonishing. The red tape in the city is unbelievable. It always has been. That's why when I've been on the council, I've been working with my colleagues to ensure that we reduce bureaucracy. We've done way more in the last couple of years than in the time frame that Kevin has been on the council. In fact, we are doing more now than ever before to ensure that we can create pathways to middle-class jobs with a living wage so we can pay people decent wages. Those are the type of policies that I will continue to push forward when I'm mayor.
And that's all the time we have for this mayoral debate.
Thanks for watching, and you can read more about the candidates on 10news.com.